Wanted peace. I didn't care about its age or the fact that it stood alone at the top of a barren hill. I just wanted a place where no one would bother me. I was working on a research book about strange phenomena and I figured this location would help me focus. It was far from any city and the nearest neighbor was miles away. I liked that it seemed like a simple plan: move in, do my work and enjoy the quiet that was. Before I realized the house had its own agenda, I arrived during the late afternoon. The sky was dim and the wind whipped around me the moment I opened my car door. The driveway was just a patch of rough dirt leading up to the front entrance. The house looked bigger than I expected. Its paint was peeling in several spots and some of the windows seemed patched up with boards. I saw cracks in the foundation and a slanted porch railing. I felt uneasy, but I brushed it off. I told myself it was just an old place in need of repairs. I walked to the door and fiddled with the key. The lock creaked and I turned it, but it opened on the first try. Inside, the floors were wooden and uneven. Dust floated around in the weak light coming through the windows. The air smelled stale, like the place had been shut for a long time. There were a couple of rooms near the entryway. One looked like a living room and the other was a cramped dining room with a small chandelier. I dropped my bags near a stairwell that led to the second floor. My plan was to explore and figure out how I'd set up my workspace. I had a laptop, some notes and boxes of research materials. I also had a few personal items, but nothing fancy. The first odd thing happened that evening. I was unpacking in the living room. The power was on but the lights flickered every now and then. I assumed it was old wiring. As I was organizing some books on a makeshift shelf, I heard a faint whisper. At first I thought it was just the wind outside, then I realized it was coming from the wall behind me. It didn't sound threatening, it was more like a breathy murmur that made the hair on my arms stand up. I listening for a few seconds, but I couldn't understand any words. I decided to ignore it. I was tired and didn't want to freak myself out on the first night. I set up a small desk in one of the upstairs rooms. The second floor had a long hallway with several doors. Most of they led to empty bedrooms. One of them had a broken bed frame and a few old chairs stacked in a corner. Another was completely bare except for a stained rug in the center of the room. I picked was at the end of the hall. It had a large window facing the hill slope. I liked the view even though it was mostly dry grass and rocks. The desk fit under the window and I placed my laptop there. I planned to start writing the next day. That night I tried to sleep but the whispers returned. This time they seemed to move from wall to wall. I heard them in the ceiling for a moment, then near the door. Occasionally I caught a word or two, but it was always too faint to be sure. I felt a chill in my chest like my heart was pumping cold blood. My hands got clammy and I pulled the blanket up to my neck. I kept looking around the dark room waiting for something to pop out. Nothing did. I only saw the faint shape of the furniture whenever lightning flickered outside. It was raining lightly and each flash of lightning lit the room for a split second. At some point I fell asleep from exhaustion. The next morning I woke up feeling shaky. I made some coffee in the old kitchen. Though the appliances were in bad shape, the stove barely worked and the fridge rattled. When I opened it I sipped my coffee near the window watching the drizzle outside. I tried to shake off the unsettling feeling from the night before. I told myself it was just nerves and my imagination playing tricks on me. After I finished breakfast I decided to look around the house more thoroughly. I opened closets and peered into dusty corners. I wanted to see the condition of the place, figure out if I'd need repairs, and maybe find some hidden storage spaces that old houses sometimes have. That's when I found the first hidden corridor in a room on the first floor behind a large cabinet. There was a slight gap in the wall. The cabinet was too heavy for me to move alone, so I nudged it a bit to see if it was stuck to the wall. It shifts more easily than I expected, revealing a narrow opening about 2 feet wide and maybe 6 feet high. It led into darkness. The air seeping from inside smelled damp and stale. I shone a flashlight into it and saw a hallway that extended to the left. 05:14 Wanted peace. I didn't care about its age or the fact that it stood alone on a barren hilltop. I just wanted a place where no one would bother me. I was doing a research book on paranormal phenomena and I thought this place would help me concentrate. It was far from any. The nearest city and neighbor were miles away. I liked